Alright, so now we have to do wall rating. Woohoo! It's not really that exciting. It's super exciting. Now, what you may notice is we have this oddly shaped rectangular box, and that's sort of in front of the character, so that it only ever detects a wall when it's in front of you and you're facing it, more or less. Because we don't want you wall writing backwards, even though it checks for directions. It's just not cool. It's not cool. No one does that. I can't do that. So we're gonna go in here, we're gonna add this component. Go look for box. And that was my phone. Wall run seat box. It's wall jump collision. It's wall. Boom. Boom boom. And let's just copy these coordinates. So we got 5, 125, and 50. Got 5, 125, and then 50. I'm going to drag this a little forward so that it's more or less cutting the arms in half. And that's it. So you would have to be directly facing the wall, more or less. And let's go in here and check the collision for this box. And of course, you want to do the same thing: clears custom, no physics, pawn, and the rest is default. Custom, physics, pawn, rest is default. So this is overlap, and that's it. The last two are there. Now we have to add the events for this box right under here. Add events, begin, and let's get end as well. Oh crap, I don't want that. Add event component end overlap. Shit. Alright. So we have the custom tick event here. Okay. So here we're going to create the wall running logic, and this will simply enable and disable wall running. That's it. Because what's going to actually control the wall running movement will be the modified movement input. And we'll do that next. So we want to create a new variable called wall running enable. It's going to be a boolean, and we'll create a category, call it wall run. Make that a boolean, and then we're going to set this boolean. So we're going to create another event, and this will be the jump action. I'm using it again, yes. I'm going to create a gate. So on enter, on press, it will enable while running, assuming the conditions are met. So let's create a gate. Now, one release is going to go to enter. The next will go to a branch, which will check lower. So let's actually make this a branch. And on the box will go to is the player falling. If this player is falling, then we want to allow them to wall run, because that means they are in the air at that time. Otherwise, they can go kill themselves. And get character movement is falling. New branch. If it's true, open that. Now, let's say they leave the wall. So I'm going to break that up into a sequence. And the first sequence will go to the gate. So we want to immediately close this gate. The next sequence will go to doing another branch check. And this branch check will be for falling. If they're falling, if they're not falling, I should say, then enable while running, it goes fall. If they're not falling, we'll go to another branch check. So let's put that there. False. Let's do another branch check. And then this one's absolutely useless. Let's delete that. And we're going to do a check when they release. So if on release, if wall running is enabled, then we want to disable it, which will simply allow, or will simply prevent, I should say, from turning off the wall running on accident. So if it's true, disable wall running, and then we're going to disable wall running itself. So you can do sequence, because next time we're going to actually call something else, but for now we will just check this one thing, and that's it. So let's bring this down here. True, connect. So disable while running from the movement input, and this will disable the input being received by this tick. And so you'll see that right now. So let's go here. We want to check and see if the velocity is at a certain speed, and then we also want to check if the spacebar is down at the time. So let's bring this up, drag this down. We want to get the player controller. No, you're not saving. Is key down, and we want to check for spacebar. So let's scroll down, 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 down. Okay, maybe up, 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 space, space. Yeah, where is that? Oh, no, spacebar. Cool. Now we want to do another check. Well, actually, we want to do an AND gate, and we want to make sure that they both return true. And so this check will check the velocity and make sure that the player is moving over a certain speed. We don't want them to just be able to wall run from a paused movement, or they're just barely walking anywhere. Doesn't really make that much sense. Now, does it? So let's get the velocity, then get vector length. And we want to make sure there's a vector length. We want to check if it's less than 250. So if it's less than 250, and spacebar's down. Let's branch, and this will end the sequence. So let's do branch, and then you see right here that it loops back and it starts to end sequence. It should. This right here will shut down all of the wall running logic. And so it basically checks if the space button is down and they're wall running, possibly, and their velocity is lower than 250. We want to prevent any wall running from happening. So they need to be running at a moderate speed. Next, we want to do is enable wall running, but also launch the character forward. Want to get another one? Set. Enable wall running. Now the most that this does is updates the gravity and the air control. That's for the movement input, so we will get to that. This simply is pushing the player forward. It's more or less the logic. It's not the actual movement. You can't control this force directly. It's only determined by the velocity that you give it, or the initial velocity that you give it when starting the wall running. Let's get the actor's location. We want to get the actor location of the player. We want to get the direction, and then we want to break that, get the y, times that by 800, and then we want to get the velocity of the player and get the x velocity, add that, and make a new vector, and then make the z 890, and this will get that initial push. So let's do that. Let's get the actor's location. Want to get actor location, this actor location, and then we want to get actor velocity. Now we want to break this. We also want to get the direction, remember? So get direction, and we want to get the direction from the player to the wall. Crisscross, everybody. Oh, well, in this, I do it the opposite way. I guess there's good reasons behind that, right? Break vector. We want to make vector. and we're going to do times 800 to the y of the results. Let's do it. 890, 800. This will be the y. You'll transfer the x. Transfer the x. Make this 890. And then where it says launch character, I'm gonna throw that right there. Now, one thing we want to do is check if the player is falling. So if it's falling, let's go here. Falling, check, check, check. Now, the last check we have to do is for the wall dodge logic. But for now, we got the wall running logic up and operational. So let's recreate the wall. Let's recreate the movement logic in order to test the wall running or wall riding logic movement. So let's see, and we want to movement wall running logic, because the actual mechanics are in a different comment section. These are mechanics, sort of, maybe, I don't know. Let's push this back up here. Alright. Now let's add move right and move forward. Move right, event, and move forward. And this one's pretty straightforward. We want to get the yaw of the control rotation and get the right vector and add that to the movement. Now to make it go left and right. So let's get control, break it, make dot after stripping the other values. We want to get right vector. Then we want to do add movement input. We want to get the axis value for the scale value and the movement, and right vector for the world direction. That is it. That is it. Now we also want to check if they're wall running, because if they're wall running, we don't want them to just jump off the wall. We want that to be controlled by the direction that they're facing. So let's go to branch, and we want to check if wall running is enabled. If it's enabled, then we don't want to do anything. If it's not enabled, let's move forward as normal. Now we're going to do something slightly variant in the first one, and it's going to, we're going to get the forward vector directly from the rotation, and then we're going to multiply that by a wall run velocity. So we have a new variable. We're going to call it wall run velocity. Run velocity. I don't know. Doesn't even make sense. We're going to do float, compile, and that will be 3. Bam. You get, I'm going to get forward vector, multiply this float by this. Oh, I guess we'll be getting the vector and multiplying that by the wall run velocity, breaking that and only transferring the X. So before we get to that, let's go to move forward action, and the first check we want to do is, of course, wall running. Is it wall running? So let's do branch wall running enabled. So if it's enabled, we want to set the air control to 1, give it maximum control, and then we want to turn the gravity scale to 0.01. So let's get the character movement. I'm going to set gravity scale. So not only can you have maximum control over the air, you can also have half or quarter of the gravity removed. Actually, only 0.1. It'll be 0.1 gravity left. And from there we want to launch character again. So launch character, and that would be the velocity, and then that'd be it. Now let's say they're just running casually. That's of course the easier part of this, and we want to do get right vector, add movement, get that for the world direction, pick that for the scale, where it says false, pick that. But we also want to set the air control by default and set the gravity scale to back to default. So let's do, you can copy these. So the gravity scale would be 1, and the air control will be 75. And that is it. I should allow for wall running. You can try this out. Let's comment this and put modified to character movement with wall running. With wall running input. Save, compile, and let's go try this. Ooh, error. I know what's wrong. Let's go back to here and let's put these values on the character movement component. Alright, play. Let's see how this works in game. Oh, something's wrong. Wonder what? So found out the problem. We want to get forward vector. Wow. Alright, save, compile. Let's try out this wall run. oh, something's weird going on. So let's check for ourselves. When I let go of shift, it did not. Did not make the logic gate false. So let's check what's happening. We want to check if the player's falling and then alright. I think that's it. Let's try that out. Some small modifications. And that's it. And we're just checking these. So bam, wall running. All right. So now we should connect this other value right here that's connecting all the way to the reset of the double jump. Right after it disables wall running, we want to re-enable double jump. So we want to begin this sequence here, sequence online. Now we could globally call it, but that might cause some level of confusion. But feel free to try and let me know how that works.